I graduated with a 1.7 GPA. Now I get paid to think. I stutter. Now I get paid to speak. Reading changed my life. I read books and it just changed my view, my outlook. I always say I didn't have any role model in my life at the time, but through my books, I began to see role model. A mentor had told me to hire slow and fire fast.
Great advice.
Yes, great advice that I did not listen to.
Meet Deon Bonaparte, CEO and lead brand strategist at Threi Strategy. He helps mission-driven leaders turn brand confusion into brand confidence, attracting dream clients and top talent with clarity and impact.
We grew from 750 to 15,000 a month. We naturally were getting more revenue and more people were looking at what we had to bring. So I think that all of that was meant to happen. I think I was simply at the right place at the right time.
It's not that you had little to do with it, but this was the epitome of preparation meets opportunity.
That's good, Rachel. That is.
Is your brand polished on the outside but messy behind the scenes? The logo is clean, the colors pop, but the messaging is confusing and the content is all over the place. And the conversions, they flatline because of that. That's what Threi Strategy steps in. We help purpose-driven brands clarify their voice, unify their visuals, and build strategies that actually work online and in real life. At Threi, strategy isn't an afterthought, it's the entire framework. We're not here to just sound good, we're here to build bold, integrated brands that shift culture and scale impact. So if you're done winging it and you're ready to build with clarity, confidence, and consistency, head to threistrategy.com. That's THREI strategy.com and book your brand clarity session today. Because good visuals are cool, but strategy, that's what scales.
Hello, welcome to the Purpose Profit Shift, where real stories about bold shifts illuminate how we can create a new economy. I'm your host, Rachel Bernier Green, social entrepreneur, activist, and founder of EJ Consortium, a finance and operations consulting firm designed to help purposeful businesses change the world. Today, we're joined by Deon Bonaparte, CEO of Threi Strategy and a brand strategist who's redefining what it means to turn personal challenges into community impact. From the South Side of Chicago, Deon built a thriving agency that helps purpose-driven organizations, especially BIPOC businesses, transform their missions into measurable, market-ready strategies that close wealth gaps while driving profit. Deon, thank you so much for being here. Can't wait to jump into this conversation with you today.
Yes, Rachel, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
As we were researching for the podcast, we came across this quote that you have said before, that God has a sense of humor because I graduated with a 1.7 GPA and now I get paid to think.
Yeah.
I had a stutter and now I get paid to speak. Take us to this moment when you first realized that, those perceived weaknesses might actually be some of your greatest assets.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You really took me back with that one. Again, it's really an honor to be here and to be speaking to you. Man, that quote, I graduated with a 1.7 GPA. Now I get paid to think. I stutter. Now I get paid to speak. Let me tell you, graduating with a 1.7, my journey at that stage of life, it was really back and forth. I didn't know really what my path was. This is the thing. When I finished up school, right? So I graduated high school, right? Just with the 1.7. And so when you're in class, I will always do just enough to get a D, like which is what I'm not going to do is repeat the grade. So I'm going to do just enough to get a D.
Well, you had some clarity about your goals.
I have some clarity about my goals. I'm like, listen, I'm going to do just enough to get this gig to walk across the stage. And so it was really funny because after I got that D and I walked across the stage, and mind you, in eighth grade, I didn't walk across the stage at all because I would just I was bad, getting into trouble, et cetera. So they did not let me walk across the stage. So I was happy to at least grow enough to walk across the stage this time. After that time, no, right. I really went on this quest, if you will, to find myself, to find who I was. And that looked like for me at the time, working at different places. I worked at Target, Culver's, factories, right? I just worked at a lot of different places. But then I remember one day I went to work I was working at a factory, and I remember I was doing something, and something came to me and said, life has to be more than it. There has to be more than life than this. At that time, I tried to go to college. I dropped out of college once. I tried to go back to college. I dropped out again. And finally, I went for the third time. But the only reason why I worked for the third time is because I started to do something. I started to read. Reading
Mm.
changed my life.
Yes.
I read books, and it began to just change my view, my outlook. I always say I didn't have any role models in my life at the time, but through my books, I began to see role models. And I would say that really changed my life. And even within that time frame, to make a long story short, I got back into school. I ended up doing really well, and I ended up even getting a full ride to my college. And I graduated with honors and just those kind of things. And I started a company, but it all started with the choice of just, not letting my past define my path forward. And so, yeah, I kind of found myself with thinking and getting paid to think. And now I love to speak. I stutter but I love to talk, y'all. I don't know why. I always say God is funny, because why would you get somebody that love to talk to stutter? Is crazy. But yeah.
Oh, I absolutely love everything about that story because it is, I think, one of the things successful entrepreneurs have in common is that we embrace the fact that success is not linear, but we also don't believe in giving up. And the resilience and gumption that you showed through that process, but also how important it is to have a reason to want to
Mhm.
do better
Yes.
because your success in later academics shows that it was never a capacity issue.
Mm.
There was a purpose issue. You had needed a reason to do the work. And once you found that reason, you excelled.
That's good, Rachel. That is good. Yes.
What you're bringing to the table. And so I want to follow that up because I know a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with imposter syndrome. I can imagine, given the different stages of your journey, that you've had to overcome imposter syndrome and have done that, in really transformational ways and turned that narrative upside down when it comes to your personal life. So when you're working with clients, how do you help them identify their own hidden advantages that may be disguised as challenges or limitations?
We make it hard to identify that thing that makes us special, right?
Mm,
Identify that thing that helps us to really see what makes us different, right? Not only in our personal life, but in our company, in our business, what helps us to stand up apart from the rest. And yes, there are different things that you can do through strategy, different frameworks, etc. But before we get there, the place that I like to work from, and it may be different than anyone else that does it, my faith actually drives a lot of what I do. What is your purpose of being here on this earth, period? And I know that that could be kind of, far-fetching, far-reaching, but it has everything to do with the company that you launch, the product that you have to offer, the solution that you have to give to the world, right? Where you can really talk through an idea better than most. Did God give you an ability to really think through things in depth more than most people, right? Identifying that gift, but then connecting it back to your purpose will help give you the blueprint for the business that you are launching and that you are driving now, right? And so when it
right.
comes with founders and people that I'm working with, one of the things that I do, whether we kind of work through it or not, right? So it may happen in the first meeting, or it may just be something that I actually just pray through. And before I even work with the client, I would
Yes.
help me, God, to unlock why you put this person here on this earth, while they're launching this company. The kind of businesses that I like to work with are the ones that are not only purpose driven in the way that we know it now. Well, I want to solve a problem in the world, and whether that be I want to solve climate change, or no, all those things are important. My version of purpose driven is, God, what's the purpose you have for this person? Right. And what do you have for them to do through this company? And how can I, as a strategist, activate that through my gifts, through my talent, through what you put in me? How can I help to activate that? Right. That I work from them. Once I can kind of tap into that, I can now work with any founder at the place that they're at and say, okay, cool. Well, you're launching a tech app and these are your goals. Now I can connect their product or service to purpose and start to bridge that gap and tell that story. And for me,
Yes.
I think that that's where my secret sauce really comes from with how I work with companies. That's why I always say that's why I am intentional about the company that I work with. Because if you're only trying to make money and make a quick buck, I'm not your guy. So I'm always very intentional to connect my founders back to their purpose, back to why they're on the service. Then from there, we can launch with the principles, the strategy for them to have a thriving and growing company.
I absolutely love getting the behind the scenes look
Yeah.
at how you operate,
Yeah.
especially now that I've gone through the process of working with you.
Yeah.
All of what you just shared is just so evident in
Yeah.
how you show up with clients and
Wow.
how you stretch clients. And I can't wait for everyone in the audience to see kind of what's to come from our company over the next, 4 to 5, 6 months as a result
Exciting.
of our work with you. And knowing that that's where you started the
Yeah.
process
100%.
makes so much sense in terms of how you showed up because you really helped us connect our entire strategy and how we show up as a company to
Yeah.
that purpose. And I thought that we were in pretty good shape before,
Yeah.
and you just took things to a level that we couldn't have imagined.
And let me say this, and I believe that the reason why we got there is because you gave the permission and the space to just be, right?
Mm.
Whatever that is. I remember you said something. You had said you said, okay, I was still quite kind of teetering on what to, but like after actually going through it, I'm like, okay, yeah, we made the right choice. And that brought me a lot of joy because the only reason why we was able to get there is because you gave the space and freedom, to be able to kind of get to that place, working hand in hand, right? That's the only way that we get there. There has to be a trust that is
Yes.
established, so that we can get, because there'll be some things that don't make sense, some things
Mhm.
will, but it's like in the things that don't make sense, can I give enough for the greater good of us getting to a said place? And you did that. So your team did that. Your team is amazing, right? You top tier across the board.
Oh, I absolutely my
Yeah.
team is
Yes.
phenomenal.
100% across the board. Across the board. Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, I want to talk a little bit about the first company, your previous company, and your journey there. So, you started it, and you had a span of 30 days where you went
Yeah.
from like
Crazy. Crazy.
basically no revenue, like
Yeah.
$750 to
Yeah.
15K
Yeah.
in revenue in a month. Can you walk us through
Hmm.
how that happened and what was kind of that crossing the threshold decision that changed everything?
For sure. You know what, Reggie? I don't really know how it happened. If I'm being honest, if
That's
I'm
the
being
realest answer sometimes.
Yeah, that's the realest answer. I really don't know how it happened. All I can say is I I I think that I was just at the right place at the right time. And with what I was doing at that time, I I I I believe that God's really had a plan for that. But though I will also say this. I remember a lady has said to me once, she said that there are some things in your gut that doesn't make sense. You have to go with it. We like to think through the beginning, the middle, and the end. What's this part
Mhm.
going to look like? What's the middle going to, and if it doesn't make sense to us, if you don't see a clear path forward, then it's hard for us to take those next steps. But there are some times where you will get something in your gut like, oh, I know I should do this. I know I should leave my job. I know I should stay at my job. I know I should, X, Y, and Z, right? It's so important to go with that gut feeling because more times than not, I would say you will end up in a better place because you did. And that's really what happened with me. I, I, I finished up college in 2020, right? I graduated in 2020. And so all of my friends were getting jobs and, et cetera. The 2020 was also really the start of the pandemic as well, right? So now the
Right.
whole world is in this crazy place. I remember I was in school for my last few classes and my instructors, like, they didn't know what to do. They were like, just finish that project. I really don't know. I'm trying to figure out my own life right now.
Right. World's falling apart.
We're falling apart, right? What do we do? And so, anyway, we figured that part out. And so my friends, they were getting jobs, and some worked, right? That was really a crazy time, but within me though, my gut feeling was that instead of going down a path of trying to find a job, etc., I wanted to create a space and place for people that didn't look like me. And that was really birthed from my last year in school program that I was in, which is the marketing pro, which is the marketing path. Uh, they take you to different advertiser companies. At these companies, you know, I would go and I would be so excited to go. But I noticed something at each and every company. No one looked like me. Like when I say no, like when I say no one, it was like
Been there.
astonishing. Yeah, it was astonishing how it looked like, and I had no idea because I'm a black boy from the South Side. So you took that black boy from the South Side and you uprooted him. I go to a school. I'm excited to be there, but I have no idea what to expect, right? And
Yes.
so I get here, no one looked like me, and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, you have a few different paths that you can go down. You can go down the path of, just trying to find a job, etc. Or you can try and build your own thing. And so I went my own path and I built my own thing. And thank God that I did. When I did that, I realized that, well, one, I have to say this. I've always been really good at chess, right? Although I only had a 1.7, I've always had a way with how things move, strategy, how to be 5 moves ahead. That's always been like my gift. So even when I went to college, brand strategy was something that I studied. And so yeah, which led me to launching my own company at that time. The name was NDVU Lab. And oh my gosh, I remember when I launched that company, I was like, I'm gonna take over the world, etc. And that led to me starting the company. And literally within the first month, I remember I was posting about brand strategy, etc. A person had hit me up. I was like, hey, I really want to buy what you have. That ended up in something that was $750, kind of like what you said. But then I don't know what happened, but within those next 30 days, 30 to 60 days, we literally were like launched and we grew from 750 to 15,000 a month. I began to hire my own team. We had like an office downtown. I mean, we were just doing a thing. Now, granted, I would have done it a lot different if I knew what I knew now, but though that was a really special time where I believe that, black companies were really on the spotlight during that time too. So we naturally were getting more revenue, etc. And more people were kind of looking at what we had to bring. And that led to, again, just being on TED Talks and different things like that. So I think that all of that was just like the moment that what you like to say, Rachel. I'm actually take his word from you. That it was a kismet moment. It was just meant to be, meant to happen. I think that there was little that I had to do with it, other than I was simply at the right place at the right time, and I was ready. And our company
But that's key. That's key. So it's not that you had little to do with it, but this was the epitome of preparation meets opportunity.
right.
And you
Yes.
have been doing the work through the going back to school, through reading, through investing in yourself, and really honing in on your true purpose so that you are ready to show up and deliver when those opportunities presented themselves, which is the
Yes.
mark of a true visionary, right?
Come on. Yes, yes. And it's so true. Like even this time of trying to grow, not trying to, but in growing my company now, I often think about that time in 2020, and I'll say, well, what made it really take off then, right? And it was exactly what you said, Rachel. Just being ready. What does being ready look like to you now, right? Like, what does that space of being ready, being open for whatever that means? This is the thing. We have little to do what actually happens as far as us going to the next space and place in life. Like there's little that we can control, right? And we can control being ready, we can control going to school, we can control studying, we can control make sure that our operations, our business is in order. But there's the guy that Dr. Darius Daniels says that there's like you can only control the little bit and everything else God has to do. And I think that that is the place that I find myself in now. I think back in 2020, it happened a lot quicker. But I find myself here now, just being ready, being open with the genius that God gave me, and just being ready for what will come. So yeah,
Is reminding me of this quote, and I think that this might be the second or third time
yeah.
recording these podcast episodes that this quote has come up. But there's a MLK quote where he says, "You don't have to see the whole staircase. You just have to take the first step."
Mm.
And as I'm having these conversations with you and the other visionary leaders that we have had on the podcast, that has been a consistent thing that if you are honed in on your purpose and you know the impact that you're trying to make, that it's not necessarily that you have to come in with the whole, like you said, this is the whole path where I'm starting, where I'm exiting. You don't have to have all of that figured out at once to be able to do transformational work.
So good, Rachel.
And
Yes.
I hope people really walk away with that.
Rachel is a preacher, y'all. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know. I'm finding this out with everybody else.
That is I'm a
Love it.
preacher's kid. So
Are you?
I am. Yeah.
Same. Oh
So
wow, that's awesome.
oh,
Yeah, yeah. My
and
dad, my dad was a preacher. Yeah, yeah.
that,
Crazy.
it's been funny during these interviews for people, especially like that I've already built a rapport with, and then I just find out and I'm like, that's another reason
Makes sense.
why we have connected, why we've been kindred spirits.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
Some of the things that you have talked about, as you started your previous company, and you touched on this a little bit about some of the things that you would have done differently knowing what you know now. I once met someone, and he said he was an investor, and he said that he never invested in a business owner unless they had a previous failed business, because
Mm,
he thought that there were some lessons that is the only way that you learn. And as someone who's had a business that's folded before, I think that I rolled my eyes when he said it
mm.
to me the first.
Right, 100%. I'm not trying to have a failed. Yes,
Right, but
absolutely.
with a little more wisdom under my belt, I can see where he was coming from.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about what some of those things that you learned were from that business that have impacted how you showed up as you're building Threa.
Stay in
Preach.
your lane. What is your
Yes.
zone of genius?
Yes.
In 2020, man, I again when I launched, brand strategy was my thing. Like I was that guy. That's what I did. But though, I started to look around at other companies, and I saw that they were doing logos, and well, I'm like, oh, I want to be like I want to be the cool company. I want to do websites and stuff like that, right? And so anyway, um, and so when we grew, we were only doing like the brand strategy, and then there was a part that there was kind of like a sub part where we would also do like a visual of like a logo and like but we never did anything outside of like we stayed at the foundation of like brand building,
Okay.
which is why I believe my zone of genius is, to kind of stay on that on that strategic path, right? And so
Hmm.
I began to look around at different companies, and then we took on the creative part, doing websites and doing logos. And I can 100% say that was the thing that brought our company down. Now you have to factor in a workload, right? That you may not have considered when you first started. So now I had to bring on a web person. I had to bring on someone to build out the visuals, right? Oh, then I said, you know what? Social media as well. So now we're bringing on a social media manager. And this is what I'll say. Is nothing wrong with expanding your company, expanding what it is that you do. However, I was talking to a person who run like a really successful brand company, and what he told me was, I started with what I did fast, and then once we grew in that, like now we have the growth, the money, right, to be able to invest in bringing in someone who could maybe spearhead the next part. So there could be a partner with you, right, that can kind of spearhead maybe bringing on
Right.
create a team. Now let's bring on another partner that is senior enough to, be able to spearhead, maybe add stuff like that. But it should never be all contingent on, like, you stay in your zone of genius. Yeah. You about to say something?
You just dropped so many gems right there about staying in your zone of genius, and that
Yes.
you building a company where all of the work is contingent on you is not really that's not building a company. That's trapping yourself into a job.
Trapping yourself into a job. And let me tell you, I ended up being in a company that I hated. Ended up being in a company that
It happens more frequently than people are willing to admit.
100%. And I was like, and hate is a strong word, and I mean it, because I woke up not excited to do the work, that we had gotten, because I had positioned the company in a way to where I almost worked myself out of a job. Like, and
Mhm.
typically for found that that's a good thing, but in this way it was bad, because the work that was going on, I felt like I didn't have a seniority of expertise in. So I often have to call on the people, bring them, and it
Mhm.
wasn't kind of contingent on me. And let me tell you, when that happened, the ratings of our company went down. It was like the work wasn't excellent. And it wasn't done in the spirit of how I began the company, right?
Yes.
I brought on people, I had to let people go. It was a really long way of saying that stay in your zone of genius, right? And also, there are a ton of business things that, depending on how you want the conversation to go. But there was another principle that a mentor had told me at that time. He said to hire slow and fire fast. Now,
Yes.
that was,
Great advice.
oh my gosh, let me tell you, yes, great advice that I did not listen to. So let me, that was great advice and I did not listen to. And I ended up hiring really fast and I fired faster. Why? I saw this opportunity, being patient, right? Instead of just kind of really being grounded and really thinking through, where do I honestly want to take this company? What feels good in this, time, space, and place this company is growing? How do I want it to look? What's the corporate culture that I really want to live and breathe here? What's the services that we can do better than anyone else, right?
Yes.
Instead of thinking through those things, I was looking at I was trying to be like the Joneses, and I wanted that, and I wanted that, and I ended up making choices that was not in the best interest of the company at the time. And so that was one principle that, like, now on this other end of being, of operating and running Threya, right? Being mindful of who we hire on at the onset. One, because these people aren't an extension of you and your brand, but then two, it costs so much more when you have to fire somebody than when you have to bring them on, right?
Yes.
That's considerable investment. So you really have to count that cost, right? Because now you have to retrain. Now you have to bring them back into the
Yes.
ecosystem. Do they actually fit the culture? There are so many things that go into it. So now, and I think I told Ray, and I told you this, Rachel. I said, this time around, I'm really going to take my time and do it the right way. When you recognize your zone of genius, when you know what you do really well, you can go deep there. And
Yes.
instead of trying to, so like, my motto is, and everybody's different, but mine is, I like to double down on my strengths, and my weaknesses I just like to offset. I don't spend too much trying to, grow on my weaknesses. I just offset those, but I double down in my strengths. I'm a bit
Yes.
visionary. I'm a leader. I'm great at strategy, right? And so within these things, how can I double down here, so that, I can make space, for other people to come along in this journey. So, but that only happens when you recognize your zone of genius and you're self-aware. The only way you
Yes.
recognize your zone of genius is if you're self-aware and you can be honest about what you do good and what
That's
you
key.
don't. You have to be honest, because you don't do everything good, despite what you may think.
I
So
know that's right.
yes, so that's what I would say though. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, and all of this really just reinforces why purpose and strategy are so important, because
Yes.
that gives you that barometer about, should I make this decision? Should I do this expansion? Should I do this? Those decisions are so much easier when
Yes.
you are crystal clear on a strategic perspective and a purpose perspective.
Yes, 100% crystal clear. And I'm so glad that you brought in getting crystal clear. That requires us, whether you're an owner, investor, no matter where you may lie in the gamut in a thriving business economy, you have to move from a clear place, from being clear on your objectives and your goals, and not clear only in the sense of I want to reach this revenue marker by Q3 and I have these goals and yes, make sure that you have those things. But also there is an internal part as well, right? Being in
Mhm.
clear, and again, it goes back to what you just said, your purpose. Being really clear in that, why am I a VC? Why am I an investor? Why am I an owner? Going back to that core purpose, because when you do that, like you said, Rachel, you can make those decisions from clarity. There's so much noise that tries and pull
Much.
you from your core place, right? There's so much noise. He was growing Apple. He said that he will always be mindful of his signal to noise, the ratio of that, his signal to
Mm,
to a noise, and he will always make sure that his signal being what are the top three things that I have to accomplish in the next 18 hours, right? What is that signal? What are the top three to five things that I have to get done, and kind of stay focused on it. And anything else that comes to distract us from that is noise. And that could
yes.
be your team member just they're crashing out, as the young folks say, right? Crashing out, stuff happening,
Right.
but though, you have to give, and you managing your signal to noise, you may not be able to be available as much to get to that because you have to accomplish these three to five big things, right? So your signal to noise, you have to be crystal clear on that, and that has to be birthed from a clear path of purpose.
I think that I see that so much going into businesses where the business owner, I love the signal to noise analogy you just made, where the business owners, they're like, I'm working so hard, I'm doing so many things. Why am I still struggling? It's because a lot of the things that you are doing do not matter. And
Yes.
so I see people, doing this program or getting pulled into X, Y, or Z. And I'm like, let's focus on, you said these were your goals for the business. Do any of the things that you have spent the past week doing actually impact any of those goals? And
Mm,
often that answer is no.
no.
And one thing that I found, like after working with you, that strategic clarity, it helped alleviate a lot of my decision fatigue because it was very clear, okay, well, this is where I'm going to spend my time. And we actually have a dashboard internally that's connected to our OKRs that come from that strategy. So when we set those quarterly goals, we actually, everyone on the team can see on the dashboard how many hours someone worked and the percentage of those hours that were actually dedicated to those key results versus dedicated to other things. Because
That's
if that
next level.
percentage starts tanking, then that lets us know that we are off track and we're not going to do the most impactful things that drive the business forward. But that is why the work that you're doing is so critically important.
Next level. Let me just say that having a board to connect to each goal and the proper progress and the tasks that people are doing to see, are we going closer to our goal? That's next level. And I need that because I don't know what system you got to do that, but Threi Strategy needs that.
Oh, well, we have yeah, we can help you with that.
Yeah,
We
100%.
yes, we'll put that in place
That's
because that
awesome.
is the, connecting the strategy to the operations. That is our, zone of genius. But the bringing you in to help with that strategy piece instead of trying to DIY it, one of the
And
best decisions I've made this year.
thank you for that, Rachel. And I want to say this: I think that that's so important, because in the rise of AI, artificial intelligence, and granted, yes, I use it a lot for my work as well. To whereas 3 years ago, Rachel, a lot of what I did with you was manual. Like it was like all like
Yeah,
the work of shoot, five people is now done with two, well,
right.
me and AI, So anyway, but being able to now, use these different tools, fundamentally focused, on, again, and y'all gonna hear me say this a lot because it's so important, but being fundamentally focused on on purpose. I didn't even know that you kind of had implemented it in that way, implemented the strategy in that way.
Yes.
It's so cool because when I worked with you, it was like, and I always say this, you already have everything that you need to be everything that you're going to be in your company, in your business, as a business leader. You have everything that you already are going to need. My job is to just pull that out. My job is to extract that, to help you to think deeply and
Yes.
critically about that, so that you can really bring that to the forefront. And that's something artificial intelligence can't do yet.
Right.
Right?
Because I was just going to say, like,
Yeah,
you can say they use AI to support your work, but to
yeah,
be clear, I
yeah,
could not have gone and tried to use an AI tool to. I wouldn't have even known the prompts, like the genius that
yeah.
you are bringing to the table and the experience that you're bringing to the table. I think that that's sometimes what people don't realize, that a AI is going to get very advanced, but there are some things that it cannot replicate, especially when you have a unique way that you approach things. I have even told people this recently, that I think that in this age, that having different abilities that change how you show up in the world or how you see things, or having neurodivergence, that these things that really allow you to think differently are going to be invaluable, because
Mm,
you're bringing something that cannot be replicated by a computer, just by
yes.
the essence of who you are. And so
Mm,
these things that people have been ostracized for in the past, that this is a time to really lean into that.
It's so easy to get something perfect, right? You can take your perfect, well, like one thing that I used to love in college is writing. I realized that I was a really good writer. And but now what I do is I write something, right, like most people do, and then I put it through AI to kind of fix some of those structures and then now it comes out really good. But though, Rachel, to your point, your authenticity, you're different. This has always been something that could help you maybe stand out a little bit. But definitely now, I think it's like really like people are looking for something that's almost not perfect. Just so you can feel a little bit more connected to it. It can feel a little bit more raw, a little bit more real. And like even me, like even when I do have some kind of like a speech fluency or something like that, that's something that I can actually lead into because for whatever reason, when God was making Deon Emmanuel Bonaparte, he said, "I'm gonna make him a man that talk, but that stutter." For me, it don't make sense. But there is a brilliance. I believe that there is a
No.
brilliance in it.
Moses said the same thing.
Moses, you know what he did, but listen, but Moses was like, whatever reason, he was like, yo, I'm not in, my speech is not eloquent, etc. But I'll say this: it's so funny that you brought that up because me and like a group of men, we study the Bible and like we check in every day, Exodus now, and so with Moses, right, when he said that, when he said, God, I'm slow in speech, I don't want to. I prayed, I said, God, let me not be like Moses in that way.
Yes.
Let me not be like that. Let me be
Yes.
one that says, although I may, can't, talk as fast or, maybe speak as clear as some other people, I know what I have to say is good. I know what I have to say is important. I
It's
know that
transformational.
yes, transformational. And I know that when I speak, people listen and, really look at my core strengths and kind of die to the places. If we can be honest, we want to be perfect in that way because we want to be accepted.
Yes.
We want to be perfect because we want to be accepted. We want our business to grow and be accepted by the masses. The very principle of branding is to know that people will accept you and people will reject you. And that's when you know you
Yes.
have a strong brand. That's true for a business and that's also true for your life. So when you lean into your authentic nature, right, of how God crafted you in your tongue and speech and your mind and your brilliance and how the skin color that he gave you, know that he had a perfect plan for your life and it's rooted in your authenticity and your brilliance and the path that he has laid out for you. And as long as you can tune out the noise and lock into that path, which is not an easy thing to do, but life will teach you. And if you listen to the lessons of life, if you can lock in there, I'm telling you, it may be uncomfortable at first, but the things that were uncomfortable, just like you said, Rachel, those things that were uncomfortable, oh, I stutter. I graduated with a 1.7 GPA, etc. God will use those same things to confound the wisdom of men if you stay locked in on your purpose and what he has for you. So as you can see, purpose drives everything that I do.
Yes, I did not know we were gonna go to church today, but
Sorry, no, you
oh,
you
do
took
not
that first.
do not apologize. Because I know that a lot of what you're saying are things that I needed to hear today, and I know that they're definitely gonna resonate with some people listening to this. That was just brilliant.
Amen.
Brilliant. Are taking this, and I love this kind of this peeling back the layers to get to, you know, what actually drives you and why you show up. And so now it is very clear why you decided once your previous company folded that you were that that was not a sign that that was not the work you were supposed to be doing. It was just a sign you needed to do that work differently
Yeah.
and that you were going to show up and start again. So talk about kind of what led to the decision to create Threa and how all of this that you've shared, how that really formed how you decided to move forward with this new company that was different than your previous company.
Yeah, 100%. Well, for one, being crystal clear, but not only being crystal clear, because after you're clear, the next part is to be confident in your clarity.
Yes.
Because you can be clear, but then again, noise comes to not knock you off that path. So not only being clear, but being confident in knowing that, this model of Threa, this model of of growing the company now is authentic to in doing this work that I believe can be really transformational, not only
Right.
for me, but also for people who will come and work at this company, but
Yeah.
also for our clients as well. That those are the things. To be honest, it even goes back to the meaning of the name. A lot of people, when they ask about the name, they think, a lot of people either say three or Threa. They're like, is it three agency? Is it Threa? And I actually don't mind them saying three on three. I don't mind that because and I always tell the story because I actually wanted to call it three agency. That was the original plan to call it three. Because back in the time with me and my wife, we were just really going through a hard time, right? And man, like it seemed like we just could not get ahead for nothing. I went through a period where I got like really sick and I lost 100 pounds. I was at my smallest, like 105 pounds. It was like crazy,
Goodness.
really wild time. Lost the company. A lot just happening at one time. And I remember my wife, she came to me and she said, "Babe, I had a dream and God told me we have to make it to the three." And I was like, what does that mean? Make it to the three. So she said that, and this is back in 2023 at this time, we got together in 2020. But I was like, make it to the third year of being together. And like just as a couple, and at the time we had just gotten married, so just make it to the three. I was like, oh, okay. Now three at that time was all August of 2023. And so when I tell you in the three and in August, which is the eighth month of the year, but that marks the third year of us being together as a couple. Our life began to change. Money started to open up, and my health started to get considerably better. I got a job as a strategist in corporate, working in corporate as a strategist. And although I learned a lot there, I learned a ton there. Learned how to do different things. Learn how to speaking meetings, learn how to think critically, etc. Again, the work for me, it wasn't really connected to a clear outcome of making something better that will make the world better, right? It was
Right.
really connected to that, especially in marketing. It's about how can we make this product sound good to this market so that we can grow this revenue, no matter how bad the product is on the environment or on community, no matter how poor
True.
it is. So that works. So imagine someone like me being this purpose driven and and being in an atmosphere like that. I felt like a fish out of water. I'm like, what is
No, I have been there. Yes.
you know? Listen, I'm like, what is happening right now? God, I'm thankful, but man, this is really something else, right? And so anyway, I thank God for that. I met some really good people in March of 2024. I said, you know what, I'm gonna launch back out, and try to and really get back into being an entrepreneur. And so I remember when my wife said, make it to the three. And not only will I believe God put me on this earth, but I also wanted it to be to be rooted in. So for the companies and the people that I work with, when they work with me, it'll be symbolic to making all things new in their in their
Yes.
company. If they haven't been, clear, or if they've been like, what should I do when they work with out there coming into an environment where literally three or Threya means that God is making all things new, and so with every company that we work with, I want that to be the spirit that's intangible when you work with us, right? Is everything is being made new, the strategy, where you may have been unclear in how to, in how to drive forward, right? Unclear in how to grow your company, grow and how to grow and how to be positioned in the market that can seem crowded, and you know that you're brilliant, but
Mm.
how do I get people to see their brilliance? Well, when you work with Threya, we can make there is something that happens in the transaction between our company and your business that makes something new. That way, when you drive and when you begin to operate as a founder, you'll have a new lens, a new
Right.
viewpoint on how to plow forward. And
That's
listen,
it.
I've had new lenses from company from working with people, and they like stop the company. Hey, maybe that's listen, maybe
Sometimes
that's
that's
it.
what success looks like.
Yes.
That when people dig deep enough, that sometimes they realize, actually, I don't want to do this. And we need to be okay with that.
I'm not sorry, but my
Thank you.
my
I was just
my
going to say, don't
I
apologize.
know, I know. I felt it coming. I felt it coming. My faith drives everything that I do. So it's like in stopping something, that means that there is a birthing of something new that is going to
Right.
come out. Right there's a new path. And this is what I've learned. God is always trying to redirect us to our path. No matter how far we go, no matter how far left or right, he's always trying to redirect us to our center, and why he put us here. And I think that's something to really be mindful of, because in with this limited time that we do have on this earth, it's like, you want to make sure that for you, for the next generation, for the next generation, that you are leaving something for them,
Yeah.
so that they can continue to to live out the legacy of the family, or of the company, or of the thing that God pressed upon your heart. So that was really the foundation of Freya's strategy. And anytime I talk about brand, first thing that I always say is, a brand is a gut feeling about a product, service, or company. Thinking about the gut feeling of your company, of your business, of your product, of your service, right? You want that to be, again, you you want that to be birthed from a place purpose. You want that to be birthed from a place of being extremely clear on why you're doing it, right? Because then when you do that, that gut feeling that people have from you is, man, this person is in business and I feel like they're just for me. Like they launched a service just from, everybody to feel like they launched this company just for me. A lot of people are looking to say, well, how can I have a million customers? I will challenge that by saying, no, how can we not look at this kind of mass marketing, but this more niche marketing, say not,
Yes.
maybe not 1 million, but maybe 100, but maybe 500 people. That can completely change a company. Even having, anywhere from 3 to 5% of a market can change a footprint of a small business when you lock into who you are, to to your companies, et cetera, and really focus on creating this gut feeling that's lived out in every touch point of your brand. So whether they look at your website, will they see you in person, they come to your brick and mortar, they're talking to you, they see you on a panel, they're looking at your socials, right? How can we make sure that everything is living and breathing that same gut feeling that you created in strategy,
Yes.
when you were doing that, right? So that's really the work that I'm called to, and that's the work that we are doing now, and that's why Thread really exists, for those few purpose-driven companies that really want to have that wants to have a footprint within the space that you know that you are called to. I always say, if you work with me, you are ready to go to the next level. I don't work with people unless you're ready to go to the next level. So if you're coming here, that's why. Because anybody that is connected to me and the offerings and services that we do, know that it's coming from a place that's not just on the surface, but there's a lot of foundational work. There's a lot of
Yes.
prayer, et cetera, that goes into the companies that we work with and really making a transformational difference. And I just learned this from Rachel, from Rachel, y'all, and creating a regenerative economy, so that we
Yes.
all can have an economy that can grow and that can be better,
Yes.
for years and years to come.
So when you're approaching things in this way and you're sharing kind of the impact that you and expect to have on your clients, can you talk about how you think the world will be different because Threya exists?
I can tell you what we would like to see as a company. This is respected and revered to have a myriad or a range of BIPOC brands, that is revered on a global stage. That
Yes.
is why we are in a business, people or persons of color. And so, when you think about our products and our services and our brands and what we have to bring to the table, it's not an inferior product.
Right.
It's not a inferior to whoever, white or whoever, right? Like, no, that we bring to our products and to our services. I believe, and this is even going back to the Bible says that we perish because of a lack of knowledge, right? And so I believe in what Rachel does and what I do, and I'm sure that many of you and that who will listen to this, I believe that we are those not companies, those businesses, those people who are here to give knowledge, so that we can help each other grow and get to the place, to where we are respected on a global stage. We don't have an
Yes.
inferior product. We matter of fact, we have superior products.
Yes.
We are great. We are brilliant in the things that we have to offer. And I believe that as long as long as Rachel can continue to give what she gives us in her brilliance, and as long as I can help you from the brand strategy side, maybe you can help from other different sides. And when we all come together, we can help to position us all on a global stage, not local, not national, on a global stage, to where BIPOC brands, right, whether you're black, brown, indigenous, etc., our BIPOC brands, can be respected on these levels. And I think that we are starting to see it more with some brands. Calendly is one brand where
Mhm.
there are a number of like food brands that I can also think through right now that I believe are starting to get. But this is the thing, that shouldn't just be like a one-off. Oh,
That
that's
should
so
not be the exception.
that should not be the exception. That should be the norm. And so I believe
Yes.
that my job, the job of Thread Strategy, partner with brands, who are serious about the problem that they're solving,
Yes.
serious about taking it to the next level, and being a bridge and giving our services to how to position them, again, and what we can do as a brand on the next level on a global stage. Y'all, whether you're black, whether you're brown, indigenous, any people of color, we are globing what we have to bring in our efforts. And we have to start thinking about ourselves like that, and
And we are the people of the global majority,
we are
not
the
minorities.
Rachel said it the best. Yes, what she said, right?
Can't take
Think
credit for that.
about it like that. And so the job of Thread Strategy, brand management, and what we do there, our work of that is to be a ladder, right? To help to get our black and brown, indigenous, to get our brands on that global stage. If we are doing that successfully, I feel like just from a purpose driven place, I am doing what I was put on this earth to do. Like that's how deep it goes for me.
Yes.
And so I believe that that's the answer, at least in this way, through Thread Strategy. But I believe that we are expressing that with the people, with the clients, and with the brands that we'll work with.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that that really just brings home everything that we have talked about today. This has just been absolutely fascinating conversation, both getting behind the scenes into your business, the reasons why you show up the way you do, what your vision is for your clients. for the people listening, if you're walking away with just one thing today, let it be this, that your struggles or your starting point are not an indication of your capacity, and that getting rooted, in your purpose and in your strategy as a person and as a business owner are foundational to your success. I think that, right, I always talk about how I see business owners who need help with, finance and operations, but there's also a huge gap in businesses that skip over the intentionality of the strategy and don't realize how important that is for every decision they are making in their business. So thank you, Dion, for sharing that wisdom and all of that experience with us.
Oh my gosh, it was a pleasure. It was an honor. I am super excited, just grateful to be on this podcast, to be able to, speak to you not only about the importance of the work that's going on with Threa, but be able to get a through message, in which I think you did so perfectly. Where you're starting at your struggle, it doesn't have to define your future. And I think that
Yes,
that was something that really came through in today. So thank you for making space for us to even talk through this and, really
of
bring
course.
this message to your people. So thank you.
Of course. And so, for those listening, if you are a purpose driven entrepreneur and you are ready to turn your vision into measurable market success, you can connect with Dion at threistrategy.com. That's THREI strategy.com. We'll have that linked in the podcast description. And if his story resonated with you, you can follow him on LinkedIn, where he regularly shares insights about building authentic brands that drive both profit and impact. And I think, just remember that your perceived limitations might be your greatest superpowers waiting to be discovered. That's definitely something that's lingering with me after this conversation. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the Purpose Profit Shift wherever you get your podcast, and join us next time as we continue exploring what's possible when business becomes a force for justice, sustainability, and profit. Remember, the future of business isn't just about what you build, it's about who you become in the process and who you bring along with you. So until next time, keep shifting.